All right, it's 7 o'clock. I know the 6:30 club is 6:30, but it's a snow day. Hopefully everyone's feeling well, getting ready. All right. I love that song. Everyone has different memories of that song, whether you are getting ready for a wrestling match or you're getting ready for a football game or you're just getting ready to watch something. It gets the blood going a little bit, the juices flowing. But anyway, sorry I'm a little late today. My name is Scott Redler. I'm the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com. It is 7 o'clock. It is CPI day. It is February 13th. It is Tuesday. Let me say good morning to some of my dogs around the world. I did not sleep late. I had to take care of a few things. Kids are home from school. Had to get things situated. Some roads were closed, and just wanted to make sure I get in and figured, you know what? Why not just do it at 7 o'clock? Some people are going to be sleeping the day away as the snow piles up. No, we're in the office. We're taking care of business. There's a lot going on, a lot to adjust to, a lot to take in. And this morning's quote was, the more you sweat, the luckier you can get. What does that mean? That just means the more prepared you are, the more consistent you could be, in my humble opinion. What up, Andrew? What up, Jeff? How you doing? Wahoo. Yes. You were all over putting on some shorts with yesterday's topping tell. Okay, that's good, right? This morning, the futures are down what? We're down, 20 after yesterday's topping tell into strength. What is a topping tell? Hey, let me show you what a topping tell is. So if you look here, this is what a topping tell is. A topping tell is when the bulls have the ball and they push the envelope, they squeeze through a prior high, and then the sellers take a little control later in the day. Sometimes it leads to a small little day and a half move. Sometimes it leads to a different type of trend or a different sequence. Listen, today's CPI day, a lot's going to change at 8:30, but if you sold some strength on day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 higher, okay, we have day count rules. One of the day count rules, usually you want to buy on day 1, and that was actually right here when it broke above this prior high. And on day 4 or 5, if you're still in your active trade or your swing trade, you want to be selling some, booking it, netting money. It's mid-February. You got to get paid at the end of February. We're paid for the first quarter, so you need to net money. And if you sell strength, you could buy a dip. So some of you guys got short the SPY, short the Qs, did whatever you did. If you did, you cover some into this down open because you don't know what's going to happen at 8:30. If you look right now, the SPYs themselves are down $2. Okay, so we're at 498.86. What I did yesterday is I sold premium. I even tweeted to the public. I'm like, I'm selling 505s, 507s for Friday. That's a good way to what's it called? Hedge or make some cash flow or some income. And I also have some puts on, and we'll see. At this point, though, you have time. The beauty of an 8:30 number is you get to play the momentum from yesterday's sell into this morning buy, and then you figure it out. And if you didn't get short and you just sold and you come in flexible, you sold some strength yesterday, hey, you could get some, better prices this morning. But if I were you, I would just wait because we've come, a long way. If anything, let's go to the SPYs real quickly. Hey, good morning, Tracy. How you doing? Here are the SPYs. SPYs also have a topping tell. Hit 503.50 and then closed off the highs. Here's your 8-day. Let's go back here again. The SPYs are at 498.76, kind of in no man's land. In no man's land is tough because if you buy too early, you know what? They could make you feel like you're wrong until it gets there, or you could just wait and be patient. Sometimes it never gets there. But anyway, here's 495.35, and here's the gap. This is a topping tell. As a joke, it's not really a joke. I try and show you chart patterns and what candlesticks mean. And every Saturday, consistently, I say take 8 minutes to go over your candlesticks, go over your chart patterns, because they can give you clues on what to do. And this is just, you can Google topping tell, harami count, whatever you want to Google. That was, if you knew how to react as you're extended on selling some strength, putting maybe some shorts on, you're in a much better position than if you were chasing things yesterday and now you're underwater. You're like, oh, what do I do now? Yeah, XBI and the BIOS did wake up. So did the IWM, which makes a little bit of sense. But the IWM was up 4 days heading into, the CPI. So to me, this wasn't a great setup. your buy was last week when the moving averages were taken back in the IWM at 193.80. That was your day one. Then you got paid on day two, maybe even added. And then yesterday, if you still had your position on, boom, you did great. And here's the high from December. So the question is, what's going to happen today on the CPI? Will the CPI be low enough for then the odds of more rate cuts coming through in May, because they're like 17% now for March, or not? So if we were down here, that'd be a much better setup. But day three higher, people like, Red Dog, you can take a 205 by 210 call spread of this, and I'm like, no. I'm like, we made really good money in the IW. I'm doing that when we're down here, and there was a little less focus on it. But for now, we'll just see how it goes. If all of a sudden the CPI is in line and I'm not lower, hey, maybe get it down open, and then there's an area to buy. This is 199.55, and then the moving averages are a lot lower. So we'll see. But the IWM is something to watch when it's CPI day. As far as the Qs and tech, yeah, tech did a little Red Dog reversal sell. What's a Red Dog reversal sell? Well, it's a name that I use because it's kind of cute and gives you gotta have a little fun, right? You can't just name everything a candlestick. So what does that mean? It means after your two inside days last week, hopefully you bought tech when it cleared 429.85 because that was a setup, and then you got paid these few days, and then yesterday pushed above 437.84, came back below. So that to me was, if you were an excessive size, you trim into that, because that means maybe we pull back. And if you wanted to short some things or get out because you're that active, great. Listen, if you're not that active and you don't really do much, then maybe yes, it meant nothing to you. But if you trade for a living and it's February 13th and you need to net money and be consistent, these are things you need to be able to do every day to adjust. So anyway, here's your 8-day. What are the Qs doing right now? The Qs are down 3 at 431.85. This 8-day moving average is right around here. So it's still, this 429.85. This is one area. It'll be interesting to see if it holds this area. Okay, this was your breakout spot right here at 429. Here is your 8-day moving average. So I would say between 429 and 431 is very upper support. So that would be a spot. If you were short overnight, because you saw this, then this would probably be a spot pre-CPI to cover some. And if you're kind of risk averse, you probably shouldn't be doing a whole hell of a lot before 8:30. But anyway, that's the Qs. And then you had all the AI names that took off early and wound up squeezing one more time, and they put in some pretty big topping tail. So to me, that was definitely a sell signal. And some guys got short, some guys didn't do it, some guys just sold, some guys have already been out. So at least it took some pressure off, where you're like, wow, I had Nvidia from the breakout, which most calculated traders did have, which was down here, at 504 or 505, or when it took it out. And then a lot of guys, including me, sold a little early. So finally you got a bit of a doji, and here's your 8-day. So you have earnings coming out next week, which is what, February 21st. It's only the 13th. A lot of time between now and then. So it'd be nice if it pulls in a little bit. So for now, Nvidia is down 6. So if you came in long and it went through 721, you had a nice, nice $15 to pick and choose where you wanted to sell it. If you shorted versus high, it's like, hey, it looks interesting here. It's a little stretched. Everyone and their grandmother's talking about AI. Well, then maybe you cover a little bit at 716. But do you buy here at 716 at 7:08 in the morning pre-CPI? It all depends on your risk tolerance. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till we see where we are post 8:30 print, post the morning, and see how it goes. Here's 712. That's yesterday's. It was, still above yesterday's low. And then you have the 8-day right here, which is 690, which is another 26 points below, which we did test a few times during this trend. And I've written a ton of ebooks about the 821 day with momentum names. When a momentum name is above the 821 day, you try and be long. You don't just look to be short and fade. That's not where the real money is. So anyway, big time move. Hopefully you made money. A lot of traders did well. Don't be upset if you didn't, make as much as you think you should and learn how to do it better the next time, because there's going to be a lot of time. If you plan to do this for a living for multiple years, there's always stocks that are going nuts. And at this point, it's been Nvidia, it's been SMCI. Look at this move. Look at this channel. I remember when everyone's like, "Oh my God, this channel, it's so long. I'm so worn out. I'm so bad." And anyway, when it triggered above 357, you wind up getting a big move. Oh, what a quinky dink above the 8-day the whole time to 810. What's it doing this morning? SMCI is down 7 also. Hey, lucky sevens. Anyway, 765. This low here is what? This low is 745. And then now the 8-day moved up to here. So it's definitely stretched. Doesn't mean you need to be shorting it, but it means that it's a tough buy up here. You want to do it when it's calculated. It was calculated here. It was calculated when it had a nice little bull flag. It was calculated again when it took a breather and then took out, this high right there. Up here, day 1, 2, 3, and now it's not as easy. But anyway, AMD. This one did not make new highs when SMCI and Nvidia did. It looked like it was rebuilding, but it also lagged. So you have to be careful because if the market pulls back a little bit, they hit the laggards first. Anyway, another topping tail for AMD. This has been a pain in the butt. There's been some ways to make money, but you have to be careful. And now, if it breaks below this, just say this 168 area, it could be a little vulnerable. Whereas AMD right now, AMD is down 2. I don't have any. I got stopped out of it yesterday. 169.98, still above the 21-day. It's just not the same, right? Is this making higher highs and higher lows like Nvidia and SMCI? No. So it has had a nice move, but it's just not the same. So you got to know which is best in breed and which is moving with the sector and which is lagging the sector. ARM, my goodness, look at that move. Okay, wow. We talk about post-earnings plays, which is a great setup to use post-earnings. That's why we name it that, because we're traders. We're not that smart. We need to remember. So usually you could take some options into an earnings play because risk is premium paid, a call spread, a put spread. You never sell naked calls or naked puts, in my humble opinion, into an earnings call because you could lose your whole month and quarter if you're dead wrong, which we've seen some of that out there. So what happened here? You had a big gap up. 94 was your pro earnings gap pivot. You had I remember Chillo and the boys were buying this, made a higher low and an inside day. You didn't even have to buy that day. Then it took out the post earnings high. So anybody who was short thinking that this was too much on earnings day had to cover, and then you had to move all the way up to 164. Wow. So that was a fast money trade for a lot of you guys. Congratulations if you use this type of setup. This type of setup happens across the board in all different stocks. It's just a strategy, right? You have to have strategies to make consistent money. We don't flip coins here, okay? We look for strategies to be consistent. It's really easy to attain a day of success, but to sustain success over years and years, you need to have a system. Anyway, so it took out 126, went all the way up, and now we'll see what's ARM doing today. Is down 6 at 142, above 126, so it's somewhere in here still. Wow. But again, lots of different ways to do it. But like just to give you, for instance, look at that pro earnings gap. You look at Palantir, did the same thing. Totally different stock, totally different sector, and you had your gap up. We actually did really well. I took options on this one. I didn't take options on ARM. I took on this to 17, 19 and a halves, maxed out, made like 200% plus. And then there were people who bought versus the pro earnings gap. Okay, so you're buying versus 1976, and then the next trade is when it gets above the post earnings high because people are short against that, and that's your inflection point, your rubber match spot. And PS, it's still trending pretty well. Looks good. Congratulations if you're still there. And so today at 7:13 in the morning, with the SPYs down 20, things could change a little bit at 8:30. So make sure to make your adjustments. If you went out really short, cover some just in case inflation is lower and they go from red to green. If you sold some strength and you're like, hey, I sold Amazon, which maybe you did, I sold it also. There's a bit above 175. Okay, if you're like, hey, I sold Amazon, right around 175. I also sold some options, and you're like, wait, I still think it's going to hold the post earnings gap. And you're saying, hey, I sold it well. So now Amazon is at 170.40, which is actually, it's, right around the 8-day. Then you sold some strength and you're buying a dip, but you have the 8:30 number. But that's the way you kind of do it. That's how you adjust. So this is your 8-day right here in Amazon. So you have about 169, and then you have the pro earnings gap. So I do have options left. I actually sold my Amazon stock yesterday. I did. And I sold half my options into the strength. So now I have half the options. I use a tier system. And now, hey, if I really want to be super active, which I have a lot of work to do, I'd be buying some Amazon here because I sold it mostly above 173. That's a $3 savings in general. So, but anyway, or you can wait till after the print. There's lots of ways to do it. Yesterday, Microsoft gave you a little bit of a clue that it might be not really a big clue, but there was no setup to be long. Be like, Red Dog, should we buy a dip in Microsoft? I'm like, no, it just matched the breakout day. I wouldn't be buying a dip right here. Okay, the Plato was right at 408. There's setups to get involved, and then there's like a no trade. This actually showed a little bit of bearish power because you matched the prior day and it closed a little bit below the low of the other day. And what's Microsoft doing this morning? It's down 5. So if you sold yesterday because it actually matched the prior day, we call it the King and Queens setup, and you see how it had enough bear power to break below a little bit below the prior low, you're now out of the way and you get to figure it out. So there's always little things that the market will show you that based on your time frame you have to adjust to. Apple, I got, actually I didn't get stopped at Apple. I wasn't in the stock, I was in options, but people like, Red Dog, what does Apple look like? I'm like, well, Apple doesn't really look so good. Okay, looks like you had a 191 peak. Okay, this was when you could have bought it post earnings, and then Apple was already turning down, breaking below the moving averages, below this. It's not leading. It's still, to me, one of the best companies in the world, and at some point it'll be above 198 and 199. But at one point, it's telling you it's not today or anytime soon. So if you're going to do something, you do some options where risk is premium paid, but it's not over focus. It's just not a great stock right now. You have other stocks making new move highs, all-time highs, and this is just consolidating, what it's been doing. Tesla also. Everyone's like, Red Dog, you don't trade Tesla as much anymore. I'm like, because it shouldn't be a focus. I focus on it every now and then, usually in the morning. If it's down like $2-3, it goes green. You can make a few $1,000s cash flow, but then there's not much of a rhyme or reason later in the day. And even Tesla yesterday, gave you it's been in a downtrend. And look, this definitely is not leading, right? You look at it, it's like making lower highs and lower lows while other things are making highs. So that's what we're not focusing on. And we don't need to anticipate that Elon's going to be the man again with Tesla and it's going to be a leader again. You never know. Leadership changes. Bottom line is, it gave you a reversal on this day, and then yesterday got above 194 and couldn't hold it. There was no momentum, and then it was weaker all day and closed below Friday's low. So no reason to be in it if you're in it overnight and short, which that was more of a clue. You're making yourself $1.75 and you can cover some. By the way, these are a lot of level 2s. I usually have them on one of my 6 screens. Anyway, so here we are in mid-February. Some people like, Red Dog was yesterday the top of 2024. Mike, you can't even say it. It's way so early to say that. Was it a good point to sell yesterday technically, or maybe put some hedges on and get short for coming into this morning? Yeah. Okay, but that's maybe all it is. But sometimes one day leads into a new sequence and you measure that to figure it out. Either which way, I'm a little bit behind. We'll see how it goes. Again, what I would do is we'll see what happens with the SPYs here. The SPYs, where the 8-day is. We've been above the 8-day for quite some time. Last time we had a big potent down day, meant nothing. That was right here by taking back over half of it. So far yesterday, you had a topping tail, which gave you a way to sell some strength, and you have a way to buy some things back or cover some hedges. And you're just, continuing to move along. Move along, little doggy. How do you do that? Well, you do that by having a process. Part of my process is, you see this sauna behind me? It's just a green screen. But I do have a sauna in my house, and I was in it this morning, and I did do my 200 reps. I posted a little video of me in the snow, going in the ice barrel. Yes, I go in the ice barrel in the snow. I'm like 550 days strong, sometimes twice a day. For some reason, makes me feel good. I'm 51, and I don't really have that much pain, and I'm probably putting another race on the schedule. I've done already 2 Ironman and a gazillion marathons. And now I'm getting older. I have to do some things to keep, the inflammation down and keep the brain working. And I love the sauna and the ice barrel. And a lot of people have been doing. A lot of people, been feeling good and like, hey, Red Dog, good idea. I'm not an influencer. I don't get paid selling saunas or ice barrels. I'm just letting you know at 51 what I've been doing for a bunch of years. That's been working. And if you want to follow along and do it, I think it could help you. That's what I'm here to do. Just give a little advice. Same thing. I have a freshman son who's having a great year in varsity basketball. You know what? He started when he was 5. If you have a child and he's young, maybe put a lacrosse stick in his hand or a basketball or teach him math. But the younger you start, the more time you put in, the better success they can have if they, grab it and go, and that's about it. So again, luck happens from a lot of sweat. Doesn't happen from sitting on your, ASSS. Good luck today, guys. We'll see how we do at 8:30. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. Later, boys and girls and dogs and everyone. Later.